Am I right, Brahma, in suggesting that this meeting between the Indian and the Chinese foreign ministers now is critical to avoid an armed conflict? Has it come down to that?
It's critical, but neither side wants a war. The situation has gone from bad to worse because of the collapse of the disengagement deal India's NSA concluded with China's foreign minister, Wang Yi, who's also state councillor and special representative. Jaishankar is holding talks with Wang Yi this evening. It's the same gentleman who concluded that deal with Atit Doval. Under the deal, India created buffer zones, as in Galwan Valley, Hot Springs, and Gogra. But China failed to honor the deal. In fact, it used the deal to rush forces into Devsan, where it has occupied the critical Y junction, which controls access to several areas. Devsan is of utmost importance to Indian defenses. India is facing, as you know, two major crises at the moment: a fast-growing COVID crisis and a deep slump of the economy. This is the greatest ever contraction of the Indian economy. And on top of that, we have a third crisis, the China crisis. So this is a terrible time for India for a war with China. But for China also, this is a bad time to start a war against India. China has invited an international backlash against its expansionism and muscular policies. Such a war against India will only cast greater unfavorable light on China's expansionism.
So you're saying both the countries would ideally like to pull back. Vijay Nambiar, given what Professor Brahmachelani is saying, the two countries want to pull back. Do you see diplomacy still working? It hasn't worked over the last 4 months. There have been different efforts made behind the scenes, but they haven't worked. What makes you believe, or do you believe that things could get different? That Moscow could be the place where this chill could finally be, where we could finally witness a thaw?
I agree that on the military side, there is really, the situation is on a knife edge. And also that diplomatically, the level of trust is absolutely low. But at the same time, I think, and I recognize, both sides recognize that going to war is not the solution. And therefore, I think the first biggest priority for the foreign ministers meeting is to try and ensure that there is no further escalation of the situation now. The question of de-escalation can come only after that. The first thing is to avoid further escalation through any kind of military action, retaliation in South Pangong to reverse the proactive action which was taken by the Indian Army as a response to the earlier actions after Foreign Minister Wang Yi himself had suggested that there should be. So in some ways, I think there is a danger of provocation at any stage. The protocols can easily be breached. What people need to ensure and the foreign ministers need to address is there is no further escalation at this stage. Then after that, I think they would have to address, if there is some agreement and on that, they will have to address, while the military standoff remains, how to try and have non-military areas to defuse the atmosphere.